The kanji for Niseishi simply means 24, with an optional ending kanji component of steps, which in the context of kata is more translated as techniques. This is similar to the kata name Nijushiho, which means 54 steps, and again where the final kanji has the same translation of steps or techniques. In a moment we will talk about Aragaki sensei, who is the most identifiable source of this kata from Okinawa in the 1800s. And in this video we will also provide some historical commentary on the Shotokan version of the kata, Nijushiho. But it is the more original Shito-ryu Niseishi version and the Himeji Kansai region variant of the kata that we will cover in terms of kata embassy and form. Of course, whether one performs the bunkai for either Shotokan's Nijushiho or Shito-ryu's Niseishi, there is considerable overlap, and the bunkai content is the most important aspect, rather than spending time obsessing over style variants of embassy or motions. As with all our detailed kata videos in the Traditional Japanese Karate Network series, we will address bunkai in some detail, comparing classical moves, which may or may not be deemed as practical, based on an evidence-based approach to bunkai. This is mapping from the textbook relating street fighting statistics derived from emergency departments and police records to classical karate moves. Mabuni, the founder of Shito-ryu, appears to be the person who brought Niseishi from Okinawa to Japan. In terms of Shotokan acquiring this kata, it seems that like the Pinan kata, Shotokan acquired the kata from Mabuni once he had moved to Japan and not from Funakoshi's earlier training days in Okinawa. More specifically, the history points to Funakoshi sending Nakyama sensei, his most senior student, to travel to the Kansai region of Japan to learn Niseishi and a few other kata which were added to the Shotokan syllabus at the same time. Nakyama is the man who headed Shotokan's JKA after Funakoshi's death. And as we stated earlier, Shotokan relabeled the kata with the Japanese pronunciation Nijushiho. This still uses the same kanji as Niseishi, but the kata's physical moves were also Shotokanized at the same time. Consists of more powerful and round motions versus shurite, which is fast, linear, quick motions tend to categorize the kata from that region. And I say region very loosely. Naha and shuri are very close to each other in today's world in terms of how we... For completeness, and because I believe in karate that we should understand the source of our knowledge, I'll quickly outline the movement of this kata after Mabuni's time, in regards to the modern day masters and the material we are presenting in this video. I've been fortunate in that my style has a direct link to Mabuni Kenwa, the founder of Shito-ryu. In fact, the sensei I trained under while living in Japan, the kata was first taught to me by Greg Story sensei, a man who has lived almost all of his adult life in Japan, and in fact received his 5th dan in Japan back in 1985. Something in that era of karate not many Westerners had achieved through Japan-based training, and he's someone who still lives in Japan even today. Received ranks from John Sells Hunshi, arguably the most famous non-Japanese Shito-ryu practitioner. He trained under Fumio Demura sensei in his early years, but converted to the Mabuni family line of Shito-ryu a number of years ago to get closer to Shito-ryu's original ways. And it was from Mabuni Kenzo, son of the Mabuni Kenwa Shito-ryu founder, that Sells Hunshi received his 8th dan. I will now show the kata full power using the Kansai Himeji version. This version is close to the Mabuni Seito Shito-ryu version and the Hayashi Ha Shito-ryu version, but compared with the Mabuni version, it contains a few variations introduced by Tani sensei of Shukukai and Fujiwara and Sotokawa sensei of the Himeji region. In the walkthrough version, I will discuss some of those variants and reflect on the Mabuni Seito version to highlight particular ruha or sub-style threads within kata and biomechanics.
A grappling expert described what this motion can be and how it's applied.
So, with my background is in Shotokan Okinawan, and the version they do there is Nijushiho, which normally begins the hands coming up, stepping back into Kokutsu Dutch. This motion I liken to the age sequence here, to a choke, and to look at primarily someone, a larger person like Miyagi Chojin, Motobu Choki, could easily apply this one by seizing the lapel on one side and the other, and forcing that elbow over the shoulder to apply the choke, either across the larynx or turning to get the carotid sinus. And they can probably do that on the spot, hence the shortened stances in Goju. A smaller person, say Funakoshi, probably wouldn't have that strength and the ability to do so. So therefore, this stepping back motion could apply that technique using this body weight that way.
Good, yeah. From here, we've come up to here. Right, we just discussed this move, but now we come in. Kakewake this way. Right, this kakewake in this particular bunkai I'm going to show is something you will have seen if you've covered a Nijushiho in a seminar or looked at our video on that. From here we'll just have Renshi Jason hook. 1, 2, straight into there. Then from there I'm going to turn and put a guillotine on. To add to that, we'll get into the mechanics of guillotine in a second from Renshi, but from here, once we've come in and finished that technique, we go this way. 1, 2. Okay, so we can apply that all in the same dynamic if I don't put the guillotine on. So we've got 1, 2 from there, 3, 4 from here. Alright, so we're just continuing with another elbow and a block. So again with that, break it down, that, and that's our kakewake. In the kata we've now turned at 45 degrees. We're not here, maybe I've turned in here to get away from this, and then I come back up.
Well, which I quite like to end the fight there and then, is as it comes in, to enter. If I'm not looking, at least seize this, and instead of having the neck and the head this way, straight up and down, you want it turned slightly. As long as I don't let his head slip out, but I literally turn and he'll start to tap. And if I do that fast enough, something's really going to give me.
Okay, let's go back to the section in the kata, the Meiji environment, that is Fujiwara and Sotokawa, who were both exposed to both Tani and Mabuni, changed slightly. So Mabuni's original version had 1, 2, 3, and then repeat on the other side. 1, 2, 3. We go to the back. This motion here. Again, something you can see in Bubishi diagrams. Then we turn and go to this sequence. Before we do that, really quick, what is this sort of action? One of the simplest explanations is I get a lapel grab and I go up to the face. So I'm just 1, 2. Intercept, slap up to the head. We go on the other side, smack straight up. Okay, any other? Alright, let's talk about the motion of the kata. We've got a roundhouse high toe coming up. 1, right, left, pull up, down. So, because I didn't break this down earlier, I'm not overly fussed, this way. I'm not overly fussed which way people run their hands, but how do I do it? Right hand scoop, left hand scoop, both hands come up, both go down. Right? Different styles have different ways they approach that, but the meaning really is the same. Okay, so from here, the bunkai. Let's start with this one. So Renshi might have a hold of me there. One option is to run my hand, I'll slap him a little, I'll capture that, so I've got him stuck. A large high toe straight into the back, so reach into the back of the neck. Then I might shoot down and take his legs out from under him and follow up, ground and pound. Right, let's assume I don't trap this time, I just throw that away. So I'll let him release his arm. So the arm goes away from here. That comes up, but now he's fronted up to face me. The hand coming up on the chin is to do that. It's a rising strike. Bit of a feint more than anything that's really going to hurt the guy, but it gets him looking up and backwards and leaning back so that I can shoot and pull those legs out from under him more easily. It could be, since we've got right, left, I could be doing one of these scissor